Leafs live to fight another day as they stave off elimination and force a Game 5 in Toronto. All that and more coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the May 11th edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother on TSN's Overdrive and TSN 1050's Leafs Lunch. Joining me, it's my co-host, Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also a writer for the NHLPA. If you are an everydayer who listens to this podcast, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for checking back in. If you're new to the podcast, just know that we are a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast. So be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcast from. You can also check us out on YouTube as well, where you can look up the video portion of the podcast. We got new content coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. It's all Leafs all the time. And today's show is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. And Dave, the Gametime app could come in handy on Friday for those who are living within the GTA, because there's another game going to be going on, pal. The Leafs able to stay alive. They live to fight another day, and maybe did have a rather inspiring game, I would say. Saved their best game for when their backs were really up against the wall, I would say. Sheldon Keefe also acknowledged that it's probably, their best game of the season, certainly their best game of the postseason. What'd you make of that effort, Dave? 2-1, they hang on to win it, but hey, they kept the season alive.
That looked like a team that wasn't ready to see their season end, right? The effort that they put in, Sheldon Keefe was right. It was their best effort of the season because they were doing the little things that they needed to do to win, and eventually, yeah. Would you like to see this team score more than 2 goals in a game? Yes, but what they did to counter that was put in the effort defensively that we hadn't really seen from the series, right? The Panthers, yeah, they made it close at the end, but the Leafs were making sure that nothing was going to be given free to this Panthers team. And I
Yeah,
think that was the biggest difference I noticed in this game from the other three.
Yeah, they really buckled down defensively, and they didn't allow a whole lot for Florida. Like there weren't too many grade A chances that the Panthers had throughout the entire game. I mean, natural stat trick has them logged at 8 high danger chances in this game. That seems a little high to me, to be honest with you. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities that they had, and that's mainly because the Maple Leafs did a really good job defending. They played tight. They kept everything to the perimeter. They won some puck battles and some net front battles. They were blocking shots tonight, 21 block shots as a group. So I thought that this was definitely as close to playoff hockey as they've played all postseason. This is the way that you win games in the playoffs. Low event, tight defensive hockey. And I thought that the Maple Leafs were able to come out and play that way, and were able to come away with the victory. What did you make of the big boys tonight? Because that was very clearly, the big talking point coming into the game was, okay, we need to see more from 16 and 34. Matt Tavares, obviously, and Nylander and all them, but really those two in particular, everybody wanted to see those guys to make sure that they came out and played their best A game. Did you feel you got that out of them tonight?
I wouldn't say it was their A game, but it was their best game of the series, I would say, in terms of just effort both ways. I think games 1 and 2, yeah, they probably had more scoring chances on net, but they weren't making as many lazy plays, I'll say. They weren't just trying to, you know, cheaply chip the puck out of the zone as much as they were doing in the other games, right? What got them in trouble was what were those lazy plays that would back them up, and it would just throw them into chaos. They wouldn't know how to defend the counterattack from the Panthers. Well, a lot of times in this game, they took the effort to skate the puck down the ice a little bit more, not just throw it blindly out of the zone. So I thought it was a better effort. I still think they have another gear to reach as a group, but again, it's they knew they needed to at least be better in this game, and they can work off of it. They can build off of it. This is certainly a performance they can build off of. You just hope that they can reach that gear that we know that they can reach.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good way to put it. It's a step in the right direction for these guys for sure. I wouldn't say it was their A game by any means, especially in the offensive end. It's not the worst thing in the world, I suppose, because they're taking care of their rookie goaltender Joseph Woll, who we'll talk about in a moment. But I'll say this though, like I still I was expecting for not just those guys, but actually the whole team. I was expecting for them to shoot a little bit more tonight. Like
Mm.
I didn't feel like it was a shooting gallery like maybe you would have anticipated, where it was guys, we just got to get pucks to the net, try and create rebounds, second, third opportunities. Maybe we get a deflection of a tip, something, but we got to just get shots on goal and see if we can beat this guy. I didn't necessarily see that a whole lot tonight. Obviously the one Nylander scored was with some traffic in front of the net. So, that was, I guess, one where it was like, okay, just shoot it on goal and we'll see what happens. And it did turn out to be a goal, but only 45 shot attempts, which, you would expect to see a little bit more than that. 25 of them on net, not a whole lot of high danger chances. Matthews, 4 shots on goal. I kind of thought that he would be a shooting machine tonight, to be honest with you. And not a whole lot in those high danger areas as well. But either way, man, they were able to get the win, right? At the end of the day, they were able to get the W and keep their season alive. Really quickly before we kind of move on from talking about these big boys, and we'll get to our first and we'll get to our 3 stars of the game as well, where we'll kind of continue to break some things down here. But what did you make of the altercation at the end of the game? Namely with Mitch Marner and Matt Tkachuk. I was having a conversation with a few buddies in a group chat. We seemed to be split. Some people didn't mind what happened. Some people really didn't like what happened, and mainly from Marner's end. How did you feel about it?
I mean, like, what are you expecting Mitch Marner to do, really? Like, we know what Matthew Tkachuk can do. That's his game, right? He is going to put himself in those situations. Marner doesn't. Like, just expect him to do it all of a sudden. I don't get it. And like, Mitch knows what Tkachuk is trying to do. He has no desire to play that game, and I don't have a problem with Marner doing that because it's not his thing. I get that's going to piss a lot of people off, but like it's almost like you're telling a dog to act like a cat. It's not, you just can't expect that to happen. Like, what do you want Marner to do? Really, realistically, he's outmatched physically in
I
that.
would like him to not sit there and just willingly let himself get punched in the face. I'm not saying I need him to drop the gloves and get
Mhm.
into a fight with Tkachuk, but like, don't just sit there and literally take punches to the face like that. I mean, don't get ragdolled. That's all. You don't have to drop the mitts, but you can stick up for yourself without having to do that.
True.
We saw, did you see Jack Hughes the other day kind of get into a little bit of a wrestling match with Sebastian Aho? Something like that. Just hold the guy. Like, I don't know, give him a little bit of a face wash. Like, the refs were right there. They weren't going to let Tkachuk just completely tee off on you. So the least you could have done was, show a little bit of pushback. Instead, he takes, 2, 3 shots to the face pretty cleanly and then just kind of stares and laughs at Tkachuk, I suppose, which I guess that's kind of funny that he just laughed about it. Maybe he thinks he's getting an upper hand here, but I don't know. It reminded me kind of like when the Sedins used to get picked on, I guess, in scrums a lot. They would get, punched in the face, and it happened a lot because they knew that there was no way that they were going to show any amount of pushback. Well, same thing with Mitch Marner. I don't know. For me, I think it was a little soft. I needed to see something, not just sit there smiling and take those punches and get ragdolled like that. I don't know. Kind of bugged me a little bit. I'll be honest.
I mean, my biggest issue with the whole situation was like, what is Brandon Montour trying to do there? And then how come Sam Bennett is allowed to punch a guy with his gloves on? I thought that was against the code to be punching guys without gloves, like things like that. So, like, that was my big issue with it. Yeah. Do you want Marner to maybe just, at least try to push back Kachuk? Sure. I mean, it reminds me a lot of when, was it Ben Sherratt was doing that to Austin Matthews a few
Yeah, he's just
playoffs ago?
laughing. He's just smiling and laughing,
Yeah.
thinking that I don't know. It did rub me the wrong way. Optically, I thought it made him look a little soft.
Yeah, I just know that Marner's not going to engage because it's just not what he does. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Mitch Marner mix it up in a scrum.
I haven't, but I've also never seen this much pressure on him. And you would think
Mhm.
that at some point, the pressure will get to a boiling point where you do kind of unleash and you do something uncharacteristic. That would have been a time where I think that could have been, a chance to do that, an opportunity to do that. Come out of your shell a little bit and maybe get into it a little bit with Kachuk. But anyways, is what it is. I guess we don't expect to see that from Mitch Marner, but sometimes in the playoffs though, you got to play a little different. And you got to play with a little bit more edginess, and he didn't quite do that tonight, and maybe that's why he didn't get himself in front of the net a whole lot either. I don't know, but we'll see. Game 5, we'll see if the animosity kind of carries into that game between he and Kachuk. Like they go way back. Like they're
Yeah.
boys they won a championship together with the London Knights. Like they're buddies. So they kind of are, they still respect each other and they kind of are trying to get under each other's skin. I know what Kachuk's doing, obviously, but still, you gotta show a little bit of pushback if you're Mitch Marner, in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? I'm not making 11 sheets like that guy. So, is what it is, I suppose. All right, let's take a quick break, Dave. When we get back, let's dive more into this game. We'll do our 3 stars of the night and the Ted Lindsay Award finalists have been named. One kind of shocked me. I don't know where you stand on that. I will want to get your thoughts on it a little bit later on. But we'll get the 3 stars on the other side. I'm Mike DiStefano. Got Dave Morassutti with me. You're listening to Locked On These podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. And before we continue, let me tell you about one of today's show sponsors. It's Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you will have. Give images of your seats before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive, and the tickets are sent directly to your phone so you never have to dig through your email. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We are your hosts here at Locked On Leafs. If you are a daily and everydayer here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the family here, we appreciate you as always. If you're new, hopefully you've enjoyed the conversation so far and continue to, and hit that little subscribe button and become part of the Locked On Leafs family. You can join the Discord app as well, where things are always popping off in there. You can put the link. We'll put the link down below, and you can join the Discord channel if you'd like. All right, buddy. Maple Leafs 2-1 win to keep their season alive. What else stuck out to you about tonight's game?
Well, the block, you mentioned the block shots earlier. I thought that was huge. I just think the speed that the Leafs played with. I thought they were a much faster team, and not just fast in terms of the offensive and transition plays, but in their own zone. They were quick to get to those. If a Panther guy got open, the Leafs were right there, defending them. They weren't giving the Panthers much space in the offensive zone. Sure, there was a couple of times where a Panther guy kind of got a little open, but I thought the Leafs were doing a much better job closing out and boxing out players that we hadn't really seen. And I'll give a minor shout out to Justin Hall. I don't think he was bad tonight. He wasn't excellent. I thought the goal on the penalty kill, I thought he could have played that better, but I wasn't worried when I saw him play. And that's a rarity when it comes to Justin Hall.
That's a strong comment coming from you. From me, it probably wouldn't have meant much. Coming from you, though, that is a strong comment about Justin Hall. Yeah, I just thought like defensively, the whole team was pretty solid tonight. Like, you just look at what they're able to do and limit a lot of chances tonight. I mean, you look at the expected goals for Florida. I guess it was at all strengths expected to score 2 goals, which I think is the least that they had allowed, I suppose, in terms of the rest of the season. Only 6 slot shots on net the entire game for the Florida Panthers, and they only had 2 chances off the rush tonight. And rush chances has really been something that Toronto had been giving them a lot of in this series, and they've been burned on it quite often as well. So tonight, not allowing that to happen, staying in front of the puck carriers and forcing them all to the outside, and making sure that Joseph Woll was taking a lot of rubber from out wide, and also not a whole lot of bodies in front for him to fight through. A lot of distance shooting, and he came up pretty big tonight. First rookie to win his first start since 1993. I think was the number there. Felix the Cat Potvin was the last time a rookie had made a start for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Joe Woll able to make that happen. Last time, 1993. We know what happened in 93, right? They did make it to the conference final. So who knows? Is that an omen? I guess we'll find out. There's still a lot more hockey to be played. I do want to give a special shout out to Luke Schenn, though, and in particular that play that he made on Verhaeghe. Like I thought that was going to be tie game right there, and that could have been the series. Like that would have been such a deflating goal if they allowed that to go in. But to go down for a block and then make the realization when Verhaeghe adjusts to try and get around him, to adjust yourself and knock the puck off his stick, I thought was a terrific play by Luke Schenn. And I don't want to get ahead of myself and say it was series saving, but like if that ends up in the back of the net, who knows what happens in this game. I thought that was a great play by Luke Schenn and deserved its own little shout out, and it gets a kind of a star all on its own. Let's get to our 3 stars as we bring up some stars here, I suppose. Who was your 3rd star for tonight's game, Dave?
It was actually Luke Schenn.
Oh, there you go.
Like, just talk about not giving up on a play. Like, yeah, as you said, that was a game-saving, potentially season-saving play that he made. And I just like his game so much. I just like what he brings to the line. It's quiet. And, when he sees a guy open for a hit, he's not letting up. It warms my heart to see that somebody is willing to finish checks, make guys, think twice when they're, just kind of sliding around in the offensive zone, like in their, in the Leafs defensive zone. Like, I do like that he is out there making those plays. He's not putting himself in terrible spots, pinching to, like, once in a while he'll go and he'll pinch, but he's responsible with it. I think he's come as advertised. And I think he's been one of the more consistent defensemen on this Leafs team.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been. He's been terrific, honestly, game in, game out. I thought tonight again, just some really sound play from him on both ends of the ice, and I'm just pulling up his stat line here because I don't think he played a whole lot. Only 14 minutes of ice time is what he played tonight. How was he not credited for? Oh no, he was okay. I was gonna say, how's that credited for a blocked shot? He was 2 blocked shots. He had a hit. But he was just playing smart with the puck, and smart defending as well. That's definitely a good choice for 69% expected goals tonight too. So he was winning a lot of the shifts when he was out there for the Maple Leafs. I want to give one to another depth guy. You gave it to Luke Schenn. I'll give it to David Kampf. I thought Kampf had another really solid game. Doesn't play a whole lot and with this makeshift fourth line being 11-7, he kind of has to play with a bunch of different people. But I feel like every time he's out there, they seem to be at least getting the puck out of their end and into the offensive zone. They seem to be spending a lot more time in the O zone. And considering that this is a group with David Kampf, who literally had 0 offensive zone starts, to win 68% of your minutes, I think is quite something. And a lot of that has to do with his success he's had in the faceoff circle this entire series. He was 13-1 in the last game. He was 78% again tonight, perfect in the defensive zone. So David Kampf is somebody who I think deserves some love and deserves some credit, because he's doing some good things for this team defensively. And I thought that the hit on him that Radko Gudas laid, that was dirty. I thought that was extremely late. Could have called a boarding, could have called a roughing, could have called a charging, could have called I don't know, whatever the hell you want realistically.
Roughing,
yeah, like you could have called a bunch of different penalties there. The fact that there wasn't one, I thought was kind of nonsense to be. There was the officiating today was interesting. Let me tell you that. We'll get to the Bunting thing in just a second, but boy, either way, just to wrap up on David Kampf, I think that he had a bit of a quiet series in Tampa, but I think the last couple of games here, he's been one of the better players for the Maple Leafs. He's been consistent shift to shift, and he's winning a lot of his minutes, and that's what you want to see from your fourth line, right? They're not giving up a whole lot, and they're generating some chances as well. So David Kampf gets my 3rd star. Who gets your 2nd star, Dave?
I'm going to give it to one of the core 4, and it's going to be William Nylander. I thought, he looked really good. He, especially, with the puck, he was making some smart plays, getting deep into the zone. He like every time he was in the offensive zone, he had the puck on his stick. I thought a great scoring chance was going to come out of it. The goal, the power play goal, I was like, if he didn't score there, like just wrap it up. The hockey gods are against the Leafs. Like, it's just not happening. Like, I just think he just knows how to play in these moments. Sure, we haven't seen it the last 3 games, but it feels like he's someone that can step up. It doesn't get bogged down too much by the pressure out of all the core 4. I think he's the one that's shown that he can bring it more than the others. And I think he did tonight.
Yeah, he's also my 2nd star. I mean, he said ahead of the game, he's like, this is it's gonna be fun, right? When he was asked about the pressure, he's like, no, it's gonna be fun. He's like, why? He's like, well, this is when you got to play your best. And I thought William Nylander was the best player on the ice tonight. He was outstanding. Whenever he touched the puck, it looked like he was going to be a threat to score for sure. I thought that he was buzzing around. Great back check as well. He had that one rush that he broke up just by hustling back and breaking up a play on an odd man rush. So that was good, and we saw him winning some battles. Some zone entries, and obviously the goal. Just take it to the net, Will. How many times do we tell him he's at his best when he's attacking the net? And that's exactly what happened. He attacks the net, and it kind of gets a lucky bounce, right? Ends up, going off the post, off the player, and into the net. But either way, he took it to the net and scored the goal. So William Nylander, I thought, just like you did, I thought he had a great game tonight as well. Was certainly the best Maple Leaf forward, and has really been, I would say, for the last couple of games here. Who's your number 1 star tonight?
I got to give it to Joseph Woll, just for the spot he was in. It didn't look like he had a hard night, but that's because he made it easy on himself, right? Positioning, he was strong, didn't give up those juicy rebounds that you see from a player that might be a little bit nervous to get his first playoff start. I thought his positioning was really good, and there's confidence there, right? Like, you probably were a little worried about how he was going to react to the situation, but I think he showed from the last game, from being brought into game 3 in a tough situation, that he can provide some confidence in between the pipes. And I think he did that with this game. And I said, if the Leafs were going to have to come back in this series, your goaltender has to have a performance like this. You allow only 1 goal, you're going to give your team a pretty good chance. And the goal he allowed could have also been stopped because it got trickled behind him, but there was an opportunity for it to be knocked away. Like
Yeah.
he was pitching shutout for most of that game. Like you could not have asked for anything more from Joseph Woll in this game.
Yeah, I thought that he played extremely well tonight too. I am curious though, Dave. $1 million question here. If Samsonov's good to go in Game 5, who do you give the job to start in that game?
Oh man, I'm liking Joseph Woll right now. I just think he's looked he the confidence he's shown. And this isn't the first time we've seen this from Joseph Woll. He's been thrown into situations in those last few weeks of the season where the Leafs were trying to give Samsonov some time off
Yeah,
and Murray wasn't available.
it's just such a small sample
It
size.
is.
Like coming into tonight, he had made 7 starts on the season,
Yep.
and now all of a sudden you're putting your faith of the entire year. And we know the pressure that's on this team to
Mhm.
succeed this year. So basically, the pressure of the future of this franchise on this 25-year-old who's played 7 games this season, 13 NHL games in his entire career.
Hey, you know what? If you look at the goaltending in these playoffs, there are teams who are like, did you think Vegas was going to give Laurent Brossoit the net? I didn't really think that. If you look at
If
New
you watch
Jersey,
the way he finished, didn't he finish the year like 10-0-1?
yeah, he had a good end to the year. You look at the Devils, like I did not think anyone but Vitek Vanacek was going to get the net. Really, I mean, now it's kind of proven to be the right move with the way he's playing. But there are teams putting in goaltenders right now that I would not have expected, just because you need more than one goalie now to perform. And Samsonov has done very well. He's the reason why the Leafs were in the position they're in. But at the same time, in the 3 games, there were some shaky moments from him. And if there's any question about his health, I don't know if he's going to come back anytime soon. That collision was pretty bad. If he's not 100% healthy, I just don't know if you want to put him in that situation too.
Yeah, yeah. I think that if he was 100%, like the problem is there've been some signs even prior to that collision that he was dealing with something, and that was
Yep.
kind of the cherry on top. So I think for that reason, I'm with you. Where if Samsonov isn't 100% and he can't perform at the height of his game that the Maple Leafs need of him, then yeah, I think you stick with Joseph Woll, who's played great and has won 7 straight starts now. That's 7 starts in a row that this guy has been able to rattle off and win. So they're winning games with this dude in net, and it's all they just need to win games right now. Can't afford a loss. Simply cannot afford to lose
No.
in the next 3 games here. So yeah, I think you roll with the hot hand. You roll with Woll. I think is what you're gonna have to do. I gave my number 1 star to I just like team defense. You know, I kind of cheated a little bit, but I'm just giving it to team defense. We talked about it quite a bit earlier. How well, I thought that the whole team played. Really, really tight. Didn't allow a whole lot on Woll. Like I said, what was it, like 6 slot shots the entire game. Only 2 odd man rushes. Not a whole lot of scoring chances. None, of which that were of any danger, I would say. And you look at the expected numbers, the underlying numbers for the top 6 of the Florida Panthers, that Tkachuk line, who dominated the Maple Leafs in game 1, just a 27% expected goals. The Barkov and Verhaeghe line, even worse, 21% of the expected goals when those guys were out there on the ice. They completely dominated the top 6 of the Florida Panthers and made them kind of defend as opposed to getting in on the offensive. And hey, that's a recipe for success as well. So I thought that they did a good job of defending as a team, as a group, didn't allow a whole lot. And hey, turning defense into offense, sometimes your best offense is a good defense. And I thought
Yep.
tonight, was maybe you could use that phrasing if you would want in this game here. All right, really quickly before we take a break here. Actually, you know what? Let's take a break. Let's come back. I gotta get your thoughts on this Michael Bunting thing because there's no way that was not a 4-minute penalty. We got to chat about it really quickly, and then the league has put out the finalists for the Ted Lindsay Award for the NHL's best player as voted by the players themselves. We'll tell you who made the top three, one of which bit of a surprise, in my opinion. We'll get to that next. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano. I've got Dave Morassutti with me. Leafs able to stay alive with a 2-1 win over the Florida Panthers. So there was a situation in this game, Dave, where Michael Bunting took a high stick to the face and did draw a penalty. They scored on that ensuing power play, which is great. However, controversy as Michael Bunting only got only a 2-minute penalty was given, yet Michael Bunting was bleeding, Dave. According to the rule book, if you have a high stick and call that draws blood, that is an automatic 4-minute double minor. Why on earth was that not a 4-minute double minor?
I just don't know if the refs didn't realize that he had cut himself but on that play. I don't know if they thought that was something from before. I have no explanation for it. And like
But you could tell like how red it was, like that was
yeah,
fresh. That was fresh blood.
yeah, like I don't know if they thought that it wasn't enough to constitute calling it. Like I think Friedman, when Ellie Friedman was talking about in the intermission, he'd say, "Oh, actually, no, wait. Somebody else was. I think Freeman was the one that interjected because they're like, maybe it wasn't enough time. Like it was like too
No,
long."
that Bieksa was saying that there may not,
Yeah,
and then Friedman's like, "Nah, there was," and I'm with Friedman on that.
yeah,
There
exactly.
was enough time because I don't understand. You should have had until the drop of the puck to change your mind. How often do referees get together and do a little
Yeah,
huddle and reverse a call or do like that happens all the time? I don't understand why this didn't happen here. They were hurt. They huddle back, be like, "Oh, actually, he's bleeding. It's a double minor. Hey, timekeeper, it's actually going to be a 4-minute penalty here because there's now blood that's been drawn." I mean, I think there should be until puck drop, right? And you saw the interaction, Michael Bunting showing the official saying, "Look, I'm bleeding. Like, what are you doing? I'm bleeding. It should be a 4-minute penalty." The puck hadn't dropped at that point. So to
yeah.
me, there is no
No,
excuse whatsoever for that not to have been a double minor.
yeah. I mean, I just shake my head at the officials at this point. It just seems like we're guessing every time we think, oh, that should be a call. Oh, wait, no, okay, never mind. Like it, this is the issue the NHL has put themselves into with each and every situation that comes like this. It's just like what should what should fans expect? Because yeah, I understand we don't understand everything. It's like we're not professionals. We don't do this every day. But if if many people see this and now people who are, critiquing the game, who are analyzing the game are seeing it, it's getting very hard to ignore in my opinion.
Well, dude, I even reached out to one of my contacts in the NHL, and I said, "Hey, um is this penalty open for interpretation? Is it at the discretion of the official?" Because I was always under the impression that if it draws blood, it's an automatic double minor. And I was told, no, it's not up to the interpretation. There's no discretion. It is the case. However, he in his thought was when they originally looked at him, there was no blood. So then they made the call, but then it came and they just didn't reverse it once the blood finally kind of got there, which again is stupid. Like you
Yeah.
could have easily just been like, "Oh, actually add another 2 minutes onto that clock." Like that's how you easily could have done that. Now, the other conversation, or should I say the other controversial conspiracy theory is, keep in mind who that penalty was against. Was there a trust factor or a non-trust factor that maybe Michael Bunting cut himself? Like that is now the conspiracy that the officials didn't believe that Bunting got the cut by the play and that he actually ended up cutting himself somehow and then drew blood and tried to get the additional time. And that's why the referees did not give him the additional 2 minutes because they didn't believe it because it's Michael Bunting. Do
I made a
you
joke.
subscribe to that theory?
I made that joke. I half-heartedly. I made that joke in a couple of group chats because people were like, "Oh, how is that not a call?" I said, "Oh, they probably thought Michael Bunting just did it to himself." So I'm not of the belief that this was a reputation thing. Very well could have been. I mean, you can't discount that with the way that things have gone for the Leafs and against the Leafs so far in these playoffs. But yeah, I just think, you know what, it just makes the NHL look bad. It makes the officials look bad, and they're gonna have to live with those things, right? Like, it's not going to be ignored because everybody, it's a national broadcast. It's not something that's just going to, oh, this just happened in a regional game. Like, no, this is like Stanley Cup Playoffs prime time national TV. People are seeing this, so at some point it's going to be hard to hide from these sort of things. So if there is a bias against Michael Bunting, at some point you're going to be able to put the evidence out there and saying there's enough evidence to say that suggests that maybe there is a bit of a bias going towards him for sure.
I just like Dave, you know this. You know me. I never ever like to blame officials for
Yep.
losses. I don't get on them. I don't like I'll point out like, oh, there were some weird things going on, but I never ever say the officials cost the Leafs the game or anything like that. Like I don't go that far. But and again, they didn't cost the Leafs anything in this game. But you look at like a lot of plays tonight. Not too sure where the cross checking was for Justin Hall. Unfortunately, his stick was already basically broken and it just disintegrated in his hand when Tkachuk skated back into him. And okay, so that's a penalty, but that was just very unlucky. And then you see the Radko Gudas hit on David Kampf, and there's no call there, no penalty on that one. And then you fast forward to the Michael Bunting situation where it was only a single or a minor instead of a double minor. And it's like, what is going on here? Like, what is really going on here? But hey, they won. It's not like the refs cost them the game or anything. But that Bunting one in particular, for sure, is something that caught a lot of people's attention because it was very weird to see. He's bleeding, should be 4 minutes, and it wasn't, and they didn't change it. They had a chance to, and just flat out didn't. I wish we could hear from them. I wish that the NHL would adopt some sort of like officials report after the game, kind of like the NBA does their last 2 minute report. I wish the NHL would do something like that, where it's like, these controversial calls, just just hear from them, understand what's happening, like why. I just want to like that one in particular. It was there very clearly was blood. The rules state that
Yeah.
should have been a penalty. Why wasn't it? Explain yourself.
Well, why wasn't it an extra 2 minutes?
That's what I mean.
No,
Why wasn't an extra penalty? Yes, the double minor. Explain yourself.
yeah,
Makes no sense.
the NFL does it. The NBA does it. I don't think MLB does it, or at least MLB. I think they make their officials, the umpires, available in some regard.
Well, you can go and speak to the umpires. Like they're not completely hidden from the media. You can go and speak to them if you wish and if they want to talk to you. Which I don't know. Maybe the officials, the hockey officials, maybe the same way. I'm not sure, to be quite honest with you. But what I will say is, I mean, I don't see it happening realistically. It's not going to. Um, but the MLB does have like there's that website or that Twitter account that tracks like all the balls and strikes. So it's like that keeps them accountable, I suppose, is like how good they are at their job. Like as an umpire, pretty much, especially a home plate umpire, it's pretty much okay, well, how often are you calling balls, and strikes? If you got a pretty good success rate in calling correct ones, you're probably pretty good at your job. I don't know if there's people that actually sit there and track penalties and discuss whether or not some penalties are called or missed or what it is, but some sort of accountability on officials. I know there is internally, and that's how you find out who gets to ref in the playoffs and the Stanley Cup Finals. I just wish there was some public information, a little bit of transparency But I again don't expect us to get that. Really quickly, Dave, before we leave, the Ted Lindsay, Austin Matthews will not be, going back to back here. He was not nominated for the Ted Lindsay Award. I don't think anybody is shocked to hear that one. But there is one name that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. And I'll explain why. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. So the two names that I think were no brainers, Connor McDavid, obviously. David Pastrnak makes a whole lot of sense. Are you surprised that the players voted Erik Karlsson as the third best player in the NHL this season?
A little bit. I understand he had an amazing season. Like, we hadn't seen a defenseman put up the numbers that he put up.
Yeah, I think he had over 100 points, which is insane.
So I can understand that, but at the same time, the guy put up 101 points, but it's also a minus 26.
Yeah.
Like,
that's where I'm at. I'm like, okay, offensively, yeah, he was outstanding, but defensively, a little bit of
he's
a
not even the
liability.
best defenseman in the NHL. Like, if I'm picking one defenseman to start my NHL team, if I had to pick of the litter, he
Let me
ain't
guess.
near the top of my list.
Actually, no, I have a name in mind. You tell me who's at the top of your list.
It's Cale Makar for me. Like,
Yeah,
what he
that should have been the name that I thought of, but it
what
wasn't for
was the
some
name
reason.
you thought of?
Cale Makar is definitely the right answer there. I was gonna say Adam Fox because
Adam Fox isn't far behind. He's in my top 3.
Yeah, for me, I was thinking more so I was thinking of a defensive guy who's super, super,
Yeah.
responsible in his own end, but also provides offense. Cale Makar is the right answer, though, I guess. Adam
He's
Fox.
not a minus 26. He's a plus 20. He was like a plus 28 or something. So
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I was a little surprised to see Carlson pop up here as the player's choice for the third best player. I don't know, maybe like Leon Draisaitl, perhaps. Like that guy was unbelievable this season, right? Like Matt Tkachuk had an unreal year. Who else?
that's what I was surprised about.
Rantanen had a 50-goal season. Like there were so many guys who just absolutely killed it this year. Kucherov had 113 points. McKinnon had 111 points. Like there's just so many guys who were just terrific players all season long. I don't know. It just kind of surprised me.
It did surprise me, and I mean, maybe it's just because of how many points Carlson had, and I guess maybe the players really do value that, but I thought players also really do value defense, and I guess they don't.
Yeah.
So,
well, it doesn't really matter. It's going to go to Connor McDavid anyway.
we're talking about a nomination.
Yeah.
It's like you had to nominate guys. You got to pick a third player. Yeah, but we know it's Connor McDavid. Guys, you have to vote for a third player. Okay, Erik Karlsson, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, he's got nice hair, so we'll give it to EK. That was it. That was the big reason. That was the tipping point for why Erik Karlsson was put in the top 3. All right, buddy. Well, the Leafs live to fight another day, which means we get to continue on this journey through the Stanley Cup playoffs. We don't have to do the postmortem content quite yet. Maybe we won't ever have to. Maybe. I did say this on the podcast yesterday that I felt that the Maple Leafs were either going to be swept or complete the reverse sweep. Well, they were not swept. So can they now complete the reverse sweep? Only need to win 3 in a row. They've won 3 in a row many times this season. Many times. If they play like they did
Florida just had a 6-game winning streak come to an end.
There you go. Florida won 3 games twice in a row, technically. So it's possible. I'm saying there's a chance, and the chance is a lot greater today than it was yesterday. Because let's also remember, what's the series at right now?
3-1.
How safe is a 3-1 series lead, Dave?
I wonder if the Panthers know.
A 3-1 series lead should be safe, but it doesn't always end that way. So there is a chance, Dave. There's a chance. We'll come back tomorrow to help tee things up for a game number 5 in Toronto. So that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcasts and platforms, including up on YouTube for daily Maple Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. Also follow the show at Locked On Leafs. We're back with another episode for you guys tomorrow, but until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.